Welcome, everybody, to a deep dive into the world of Spanish superlatives. We're going to unlock the secrets of expressing extremes in Spanish today.
That sounds exciting.
It is. We're talking going way beyond like just big or small. We're going to learn how to say things are the absolute biggest or the absolute smallest, that kind of thing.
I see. So we're going to be dealing with superlatives in Spanish today.
Yes. And our guide for this deep dive is a Spanish language learning video. And get this, it uses the funniest examples.
Oh, like what?
It compares like the attractiveness of different friends or the size of, I don't know, a hamburger. I mean, come on.
That does sound pretty funny. It's amazing how they can make a topic like grammar, which can be a little dry, so entertaining and engaging.
Exactly. It's like learning grammar by stealth.
I like that.
So the video starts off by talking about something called superlativo relativo.
Superlativo relativo.
Yeah, or relative superlative.
Okay.
What exactly does that mean?
Well, I think the key here is the word relativo. So, this type of superlative is all about making comparisons within a group. You know, like instead of just saying a movie is boring,
Right.
you'd use the superlativo relativo to proclaim it the most boring movie you've ever seen.
Oh, okay, I see. You're setting up a ranking within a specific group.
Exactly. You got it.
Got it. So it's like saying the tallest building in the city.
Right. Or the
Or the fastest runner on the team. You're pinpointing that one extreme within a specific context.
Exactly. And the video, it does such a good job of illustrating this concept with some truly funny examples.
Okay, well, give us an example.
All right. So in one scene, they're comparing these three friends,
Okay.
Alberto, Moises, and Natalia.
All right. I like these names.
And they're comparing them on, like, their attractiveness or their intelligence.
Oh, this is dangerous territory.
Yeah. And even their stubbornness.
Oh, I remember this scene. Okay, so this is where they say that Alberto is the least clueless of the three friends. Poor Alberto. I mean, does that mean the other friends are just completely clueless?
Well, not necessarily. Remember, we're dealing with relative superlatives here. It's all about comparison within that specific group.
Ah, right.
So it's possible that they're all a little clueless, but Alberto's just the least so.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So how do you form these superlativo relativo in Spanish? I mean, is there like a formula to follow?
There is. The video mentions this structure. It's el, los, las, plus más menos, plus the adjective, and then de.
Oh, okay. Break that down for us.
All right, so you start with the definite article, el, la, los, or las, depending on the gender and number of the noun you're talking about.
Great, yeah.
And then you add más if you're talking at the top of the ranking, or menos if it's, the bottom.
Okay, so más for most, menos for least.
Exactly. Then you tack on your adjective, and finally de to connect it all back to the group you're comparing.
So to say the longest river in Africa, it would be like el río más largo de Africa, something like that.
You got it. That is a perfect example.
Wow.
And sometimes you might even add the noun after the article, like you just did there, for even more emphasis.
So I could say el más largo río de Africa. It almost sounds more poetic, don't you think?
It does, but grammatically both are fine.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
Now, I like that this video isn't just throwing grammar rules at us. It actually gives you a chance to put it all into practice.
Oh, absolutely.
What can you tell us about those exercises?
One that really stands out is the one we just talked about with the, comparing the three friends.
With Alberto, Moises, and Natalia.
Yes. So they give you a list of adjectives, like funny, serious, tall, short, whatever. And you have to come up with sentences using the relative superlative to compare the friends.
I bet that leads to some interesting discussions, like who's really the funniest or the most stubborn? What other exercises did the video include?
Well, there's another one where they compare different animals.
Ooh. Like a lion, a bear, and a tiger.
Exactly. A lion, an elephant, and a giraffe.
Oh, even better. So you could say something like, the giraffe is the tallest animal, or the lion is the fiercest animal.
Exactly.
I love it. It's a great way to practice the grammar while also learning some new vocabulary.
Absolutely. And I think it subtly introduces you to the idea that superlatives are very often, how do I say it, context dependent.
Oh, that's a great point.
For instance, a lion might be the fiercest in the jungle.
Yeah.
But what about in the ocean? I mean, the comparison changes completely.
That's so true. It reminds us that superlatives aren't necessarily about absolute truths.
Yeah.
They're about comparisons within a specific framework.
Right.
All right. So we've covered superlativo relativo, which is all about comparing things within a group. What other superlative secrets does this video have in store?
Well, next, we delve into the world of superlativo absoluto. Get ready to express some serious intensity.
All right, bring on the intensity. But before we get into that, I'm dying to hear more about those friend comparison exercises. What other hilarious conclusions did they come to?
Oh, I know, right? Those are definitely some of the most memorable parts of the video. Let's definitely unpack those. All right, so you ready to dive back into those friend comparisons?
Oh, absolutely. Spill the tea. Who were these friends again?
Okay, so we have Alberto, Moises, and Natalia, right? And the video uses them to really hammer home that superlativo relativo concept, comparing them on all sorts of, different characteristics.
Right, and we know that poor Alberto was labeled as the least clueless. What other superlative labels did they earn?
Well, they declared Moises the most intelligent of the three.
Ah, so Moises is the brains of the operation. I mean, does that imply that the others aren't so bright?
Not at all. Like we said before, we're working with relative superlatives here. It's all relative, right? Just comparing within the group.
Right, context is key. Okay, so what about Natalia? What superlative did she get?
Well, Natalia, not surprisingly, is declared the most attractive of the group.
I bet she was happy about that one. But then again, attractiveness is, well, it's subjective, isn't it? What one person finds attractive, another might not.
Exactly. It all goes back to those questions about the nature of superlatives, what's objective and what's just personal preference.
Makes you think. So we've broken down those hilarious friend comparisons. What other superlativo relativo gems did the video offer?
Well, after the friends, they move on and compare different animals.
Oh yeah, the animal kingdom. What kind of comparisons did they come up with?
Well, they said, for example, that the lion is the fiercest animal in the jungle. Pretty classic depiction, right?
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But then they also get a bit creative with the wording. Like they say, the elephant is the least lightweight animal.
Oh.
I like that. A subtle way of emphasizing its size without directly saying the heaviest, right?
Exactly. Shows you how you can use superlatives in different ways, to describe different qualities. And of course, they couldn't resist pointing out that the giraffe is the tallest animal of them all.
Who can argue with that? Giraffes definitely win the height contest. These animal examples work so well. They're relatable, they're visual, they really help you grasp the concept.
For sure. And I think they do a great job of showing that superlatives, well, it's all about comparison. A lion may be the fiercest in the jungle, but put it in a different setting, in the ocean maybe, and the whole comparison changes, doesn't it?
Totally. It's a good reminder to always consider the context, the framework of the comparison when we're using superlatives. All right, so we've thoroughly explored the superlativo relativo, comparing things within a group.
Yeah.
What's next on this superlative adventure?
Now it's time to crank up the intensity. We're going into the realm of the superlativo absoluto.
Ooh, I'm intrigued. How do you even form these absolute superlatives in Spanish?
Well, the video explains that you can add this suffix ísimo to the adjective. Instead of just saying very white, you'd say blanquísimo.
So you're adding like a turbo boost of intensity, right?
Yeah.
White becomes super white, difficult becomes, mega difficult.
Exactly. And they give all sorts of examples in the video, showing you regular forms, irregular forms. You got dificilissimo for very difficult, sapientissimo for very wise.
So it's like they're amplifying the meaning to the max. You mentioned irregular forms. What makes them irregular?
With some adjectives, you need to make a little spelling change before you add the isipine, like cruel becomes crudilissimo. Notice the extra D in there.
Ah, those little quirks that make language so interesting. It's like they have their own special rules. Okay, so the ísimo suffix, that's bringing the heat. What other tricks does this video teach us to create these intense superlatives?
They also talk about using prefixes, like hyper, ultra, super, those guys. They can create absolute superlatives too.
So instead of using ísimo to say a very fast airplane, you could use a prefix and say a super fast airplane.
Exactly. They give examples like a super fast airplane or a hyper comfortable subway. It's all about expressing those extreme qualities.
The Spanish language is really versatile. So we've got suffixes, prefixes, what other surprises are in store.
Well, they don't just tell you about it, they actually make you use these tools. This video is full of exercises to help you practice.
Give us the inside scoop. What kind of challenges do they throw your way?
Okay, so one exercise is all about describing different things using these absolute superlatives. An object, a situation. They even have you describe people.
Ooh, juicy. Like what kind of people? Give us an example.
Well, they might ask you to describe, I don't know, an unattractive boyfriend.
Oh, that's a good one. How would you describe that unattractive boyfriend using a superlative?
I might say something like, ísimo, extremely ugly.
Okay.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right?
Yeah, true, true. So maybe someone else might find him attractive. It's all subjective.
Exactly. Okay, so we've got exercises for describing objects, situations, even people. What other creative challenges does this video offer?
Well, they have these exercises where they give you a specific adjective and a prefix, and then you have to create your own sentence using that combination to form a superlative. So like a superlative brainstorming session.
Yeah.
What kind of prefix challenges are we talking about?
Imagine they give you the phrase, a natural beauty, and the prefix sober, which means over or above, right? What do you say?
Let me see. Maybe something like, that landscape possesses a supernatural beauty.
There you go. Or imagine they give you a large hamburger with the prefix extra.
Ooh, that's an easy one. That hamburger is extra large.
Perfect. These prefix exercises, they're fun, right? They really get you thinking. Okay, so what other insights does the video offer aside from all these fun exercises?
Well, they also talk about some of the potential downsides of using superlatives. Oh, interesting. What kind of downsides are we talking about here?
Well, they caution against using superlatives to make exaggerated claims. Like in advertising,
Right.
where they say a product is the best or the most effective. But is there really any evidence?
It's like those commercials that claim they have the best stain remover ever. Best compared to what?
Exactly. So it's a reminder to be critical, right? Don't just take superlatives at face value.
Don't believe the hype.
Yeah.
I like how this video goes beyond just the mechanics of grammar and gets into these deeper issues.
Absolutely, me too.
It's making me think about how I use superlatives, and if I'm using them effectively or if I'm maybe overdoing it sometimes. What other thought-provoking points did they raise?
Well, they also talked about how, we're constantly using superlatives. It creates this sense of competition. Like we're always striving for the best, the most, and it can lead to, dissatisfaction.
It's like that saying, comparison is the thief of joy. Always chasing the best. You might miss out on appreciating what you already have.
Exactly. It's a good reminder to appreciate the whole spectrum of experience, not just those extremes.
This has been an eye-opening conversation. It feels like we've gone way beyond a simple grammar lesson.
It's more like an exploration of language perception, even a bit of philosophy thrown in there.
Totally. So we've covered a lot of ground on this deep dive. We've gone from what is a superlative to wielding them like pros, using suffixes, prefixes, all these tools. We've even explored the potential pitfalls to watch out for.
I'd say we've covered a lot, but, there's still more to uncover.
Oh.
Yeah.
What else is there to learn about Spanish superlatives?
Well, you'll have to join us for the grand finale. We'll wrap things up, share some final thoughts, and I've got a challenge for you that might just change the way you think about using superlatives.
Okay, we're back and ready for that challenge you promised. What's this superlative shifting challenge all about?
Well, before we get to the challenge, let's just take a moment to really appreciate how far we've come on this superlative journey.
Yeah, it's amazing what we've managed to unpack, all from that one Spanish language learning video. I mean, we've gone from what even is a superlative to wielding them with confidence, using suffixes, prefixes, all these cool tools.
Right. We've got superlativo, relativo, down pat for those in-group comparisons, and of course, superlativo absoluto for when you want to express that, maximum intensity. And we did it all while having a good laugh.
I know. This video proves that grammar doesn't have to be dry and boring. It can be fun. But honestly, this deep dive has been more than just grammar rules and funny comparisons. It's really got me thinking about how we use superlatives in everyday life. Do they help us or do they sometimes, lead us astray?
It's a great point. It really makes you think about those deeper implications, The way we use language shapes our perceptions. It's fascinating, really.
Totally. Okay, so spill the beans. What's the challenge that's going to blow our minds about superlatives?
All right, so here it is. Think about this. You're bombarded with superlatives every single day, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
It's not just in Spanish, it's everywhere. You see it in advertising, trying to sell you stuff. You hear it from politicians trying to win your vote. Even in our personal lives, we're constantly comparing, judging, using those superlatives to describe our experiences and ourselves.
Wow, you're right. I never really stopped to think about it before, but it's true. It's like we're swimming in a sea of superlatives.
Exactly. And that's where the challenge comes in. The challenge is to become aware of all these superlatives swirling around us and to develop a more critical ear, a more discerning eye for how they're being used. Are they telling us the whole truth? Are they exaggerating? Are they even straight up misleading us?
It's like we need to become superlative detectives, right? Questioning all these claims about the best, the most amazing, or even, the absolute worst.
Yes.
Eh?
Don't just take it all at face value. Think critically. Ask for evidence.
Don't believe the hype.
Exactly. Because once you start paying attention, you'll be amazed by how often superlatives are used to manipulate or to persuade rather than to simply describe. It's like linguistic trickery.
Okay, that's a little unsettling. I definitely don't want to be tricked by superlatives. So how do we avoid falling into these traps? What are some strategies we can use to navigate this world of linguistic extremes?
One really helpful strategy is to always, always ask for evidence. When you hear something like the best pizza in town or the most effective weight loss program, don't just accept it blindly. Ask yourself, okay, what makes it the best? Based on what criteria? Is there any real data to back up this claim?
Show me the proof. Don't just throw around superlatives without any substance.
Exactly. Another good strategy is to consider the source. Who is making this claim? Do they have something to gain from convincing you? What's their motivation? Are they trying to sell you something? Are they trying to persuade you to see things their way?
That's so important. Everyone has an agenda, and sometimes superlatives are part of that agenda.
Absolutely. And finally, and this is key, remember that superlatives, by their very nature, tend to focus on extremes.
Right?
And that can create a distorted view of reality.
Right. It's like we were saying earlier. If we only ever focus on the best or the worst, we miss out on all those subtle shades in between, the richness and complexity of real life.
Exactly. So try to find that balance. Appreciate the nuances, embrace the gray areas, acknowledge the full spectrum of experience, not just the extremes that superlatives often highlight.
You've given us so much to think about. It's like you've given us a decoder ring to navigate this world of superlatives.
And remember, these principles apply not only to Spanish, but to all languages. Superlatives are universal.
So be on guard. Well, I think it's safe to say this has been another successful deep dive. We've learned the grammar, practiced pronunciation, explored the deeper implications. It's been a wild ride.
It's been a blast. It just shows that learning can be fun and insightful no matter what the subject is.
Right. So to everyone listening, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep questioning those superlatives.
The world is full of linguistic wonders.
Adios, everybody, and happy superlative hunting.